Welcome back to the channel. Well, if you're like me, your goal is to make your simming as realistic as possible, but still do that on a budget. Very few of us can afford a level D full motion simulator worth millions of dollars in our basement. So I'd like to share with you some of the things that I found that might enable you to increase your simming realism and do that without breaking the bank. Now, before I get a bunch of nasty comments telling me that VR is the only way to go, I have to say I agree VR is great, but there are things that VR can't do well. It's difficult to interact with the controls, and your resolution is not as good as with monitors, and it's difficult to share the experience with other people. Also, some people experience motion sickness and just can't get over it. And now with Microsoft Flight Simulator's Sim Update 10, you can create multi-monitor setups with a wide field of view, not restricted like the scuba mask view that you get from most VR headsets. So for non-VR flight simulators, after you have a yoke, throttle, and rudders, the basic flight controls, what's the next step to increase your flight simulator experience? Well, I would argue that adding some kind of cockpit, be that physical hardware or an LCD display, where you can see switches and instruments and interact with them, is definitely the way to go. Hardware builds are great, but they are a bit expensive and they limit you to a standard layout. On the other hand, using an LCD screen, especially touchscreen, gives you a lot of flexibility. But until now, most of the instruments available for my favorite panel program, Air Manager, have been pretty slim for Microsoft Flight Simulator. One of the things I like most about flight simulation is the community efforts that take place to make our hobby better. In this spirit of community, a group called Simstrumentation has come together to make panels that are needed for Microsoft Flight Simulator on Air Manager. And they're sharing them freely with everyone and inviting them to join their community. As you can see here, the Citation CJ4 panel is beautiful, fully functional, and if you utilize touchscreens, you can eliminate the mouse and keyboard from startup to shutdown on your flights. So let me tell you where to get these and what's available. You can go to their webpage at simstrumentation.com. This will take you to their GitHub page where you can download these instruments. As you scroll down the page below their splash screen, you'll see a link to the Simstrumentation Discord. The Discord is a great place for support from community members on how to set up your cockpit and use the panels that are available. There's also help for those who'd like to create a new panel for an airplane that they like to fly. As you scroll further down the page, you come to a listing of all the current aircraft that have instruments available. Now, many of these are not a complete set, but only the ones that are unique to that specific aircraft. For example, maybe a fuel selector that's unique to a certain aircraft, or other specific aircraft instruments. Also, some instruments utilize their own special variables and events, and these require special programming, so they may only work with that specific airplane. You can see there's quite an exciting list of Asobo and Microsoft standard and add-on aircraft. Also, there's some generic instruments. These generic instruments include a bunch of instruments that are used in various panels, specific navigation aids, for example, the G1000 bezel. You can see full size here. It can be resized and used in a panel as you like. There's also a number of other audio and navigation bezels. You can see the G3000, the GMC 710 autopilot, and so on. And these use the pop-outs from the simulator themselves to provide the screen, and the bezel provides interactivity. There's quite a nice selection, and the panels themselves are free. However, you do need to own Air Manager desktop version to be able to use the instruments with Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's also compatible with P3D, FSX, and also X-Plane 12. So if we take a look at some of the instruments available for the CJ4, you'll see there's quite a selection. Once you learn how to use Air Manager, it's just a matter of selecting these instruments and dragging them into a screen to create a panel. You can see there's quite a large selection. I'll just click one here, It shows you a preview of what it looks like, and you can see quite a long list available here. Just click another one, say the lighting panel. And as I said, all the panels are fully dimmable, so it's quite nice. And that's not available in Air Manager generally. Here's the PFD bezel. As again I said, you're using the actual PFD pop-out from Microsoft Flight Simulator, and this bezel sits on top of it with a transparent opening so you can see through. If there's buttons on there, they're available to be used either by touch or mouse. For knobs, you can also use the knobster, which I'll tell you about in a moment. As we scroll on down the page, there are some examples of home cockpits using the instruments from the group. Of course, you're not restricted to the instruments in their set here. You're also able to mix them in to build panels using the almost 1,400 instruments available through the Air Manager free store. These guys really did a great job, and it boggles my mind that these are available free. So let's take a look at some user videos for guys using the instruments from Simstrumentation. Now that Microsoft Flight Simulator allows for true multi-monitor cockpits, you can do some pretty cool stuff. Here you can see a really nice Cessna 172 G1000 using the pop-out primary and navigation displays from Microsoft Flight Simulator. Getting rid of the need for the mouse and the keyboard really does increase the immersion and realism in the simulation. Here we're back to the first cockpit I showed, now showing a Beech Baron from Microsoft Flight Simulator. As you can see, it's very flexible. You can fly multiple aircraft. He's also added a bunch of encoders to control things using Air Manager. Here's a nice two-panel layout for the Cessna Caravan in the Kodiak version. You can see the G5 there as a standby. That is a paid instrument available for Air Manager, but most of the instruments you see here are available free through Simstrumentation. I have trouble saying that. Again, the bezels that frame the pop-outs from Microsoft Flight Simulator are fully functional and allow you to control the hardware. Same with the autopilot. While they work perfectly on a normal monitor, a touch monitor gives you that added advantage of being able to use it without the mouse. In this layout, he's added a third touch monitor for a pedestal center console. Now here's that same cockpit quickly transformed into the MilViz 310, Cessna 310, and you can see with the GTN 750. Now configured with all the instruments for the Cessna 310, you can see, again using a third monitor for a center pedestal, very flexible compared to a hardware cockpit where you're locked into a certain layout. This Mooney M20 Ovation cockpit kind of uses a hybrid of several other kinds of instruments, but I wanted to show you the iPad being used as a monitor. There is an iPad version of Air Manager, but for flexibility there's also software to convert an Android or iPad tablet into an external monitor, which is pretty handy for things like an autopilot control or a few overhead switches. I mentioned Knobster, and let me give you a quick explanation of what I'm talking about. It's a small dual encoder with a push button that can be used with the Air Manager panels. Siminovations, the maker of Air Manager, sells the knobs, but there's also plans on their website if you'd like to create your own from a dual encoder in Arduino Nano. Here's how it works. You select a knob on the panel using touch or your mouse, and then you grab the knob. The knobster functions as that knob or switch on the panel. So it gives you extreme flexibility. You can grab any knob on the panel and grab the knobster. And if it's a dual encoder knob with an inner and an outer knob or push button function, that also equates. So it's great for the Garmin navigation bezels that have dual encoders with push buttons, and also navigation and comm frequency knobs that have dual concentric encoders. Another neat feature that the instruments that come from Simstrumentation has is the ability to dim with the ambient lighting in the simulator. When Microsoft Simulator exterior lighting is changed and goes down, the panels can be dimmed to give it that look of with backlighting and as though the panel is actually in a dark area. And that's something that even Air Manager itself doesn't have incorporated. So this is really a nice feature that they've added, and all the panels that they have that feature built into them. So in summary, this Simstrumentation website, located at simstrumentation.com, opens up a whole repository of great instruments to build panels with for use with your simulator. You know, with the addition of the multi-view with Microsoft Flight Simulator, adding panels, even a single panel, of dedicated flight controls that you can interact with outside of the sim is a great addition. It can greatly increase the realism of your simulation, eliminating the need for mouse and keyboard if you're using a touchscreen monitor. And the Knobster adds even more functionality. As a reminder, to use these panels requires the installation of Air Manager from Sim Innovations. I'll leave their address in the description below. Simstrumentation also has a Discord forum where the users are happy to help you not only with how to use their panels, but also to provide information about selecting hardware like touchscreen monitors and so on, and how to set them up. I'd like to thank the members of Simstrumentation that provided me with videos of their sims like what you see here to share with you today. I hope you'll go over to their website, give them a look. I think it's a great addition to your sim, and the price is certainly right. These really are some of the best add-on panels for Microsoft Flight Simulator that I've seen. These guys did a lot of work to put them together, and the fact that they're sharing them for nothing is a real testimony to the spirit of community and sharing and helping that is so prevalent in the flight simulator world. At the end of this video, I'll share a link to a video about Air Manager explaining all about it. Also another video I did about multi-view in the new Sim Update 10, just about to be released by Microsoft. Also, you know the drill. If you like our videos, please like, share, subscribe, share with your friends. I also love your comments. You can also click that notification bell if you want to be notified when I drop a new video. Once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.